I can be pretty sure to survive. Till the war, of course, then, no? Let's say I'm an ordinary citizen in Soviet Union in 37. The Stalinist purges were much more irrational in the sense that they can hit anyone. It was, the logic of Stalinist purges was a totally different one. I tried in my other book, Defense of the Lost Causes, and some previous books, I tried to develop some differences. Let me give you a simple example. Do you know, and I read this in a book, Anne Applebaum, Gulag, very critical. Do you know that every year on Stalin's birthday, even in the darkest Gulag, all inmates were collected, gathered, and they had to sign a telegram to Comrade Stalin, wishing him all the best for his birthday and so on. You cannot even imagine the same thing in Nazism, that they would collect all the Jews, make them sign a telegram to Hitler or whatever. Another thing, in Stalinism, you have these great show trials, you know. Bukharin, leaders accused of treason, confess. You cannot even imagine the same trial in Nazi Germany. There was no big trial against Jews as part of discovering fascist plot. Why? This brings me nonetheless to some ideological component which I find a little bit marginally more terrorizing in Nazism. Namely, paradoxically, Stalin needed these show trials and so on, because even if you, okay, not you, me, sorry, even if I am, let us say, the lowest scum, the lowest traitor in Stalinism, I am formally, I know this is a pure form, I'm still treated as a responsible human being who made a wrong decision. This is why I am able to confess. In confession means I still have access to universal reason. You know, if you read these terrifying reports on Stalinist trials, an accused functionary, Bukharin, comes and says, I became a traitor because of this, that. He, as it were, gives an account of himself. This is not possible in fascism. There is nothing to prove. You are guilty just for being what you are. You are guilty as a Jew. Second thing, now you will say, but what has this to do with the distinction? It has a great thing, because I think that there is another big difference between, now you ask me, Stalinist and fascist terror. Fascist terror was directed against perceived or imagined enemies. The inner purges were minimal. After in 1934 Hitler got rid of SA, he had to do this to get rid of the brutal thugs to be able to function as a state leader. After that, did you hear about any great Nazi dissidents? While Stalinism all the time had to fight its own dissidents. In Soviet Union, the most dangerous place to be in the mid-30s was not even a farmer, ex-clergy. It was to be member of the top nomenclatura. Look at the data. From 34 to 37, 75% of the Central Committee members were shot as traitors. 80% of the generals in headquarters. Paradoxically, now here we may start to disagree. Paradoxically, I claim this permanent urge to, as it were, self-destroy itself is a sign of a lost authenticity in Stalinism. They were all the time in some way aware, you know what I mean? An authentic revolution was betrayed. That's why it was called in this self-destructive urge.
Can I interrupt you in this moment? You Please. Said about authenticity. See, Stalin,
1970 Lenin. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
Stalin was asserting the authenticity of the revolution.
In what do you mean by authenticity?
This was exactly Robespierre was trying to do. Authenticity. Sorry? Robespierre in 1791, Robespierre was trying to do the authenticity of the revolution. Because Robespierre said that the authenticity of the revolution was being betrayed. What? The same thing, yeah. Stalin was also feeling that the authenticity of the revolution is being betrayed within. So, how do you account this thing? Okay, who is going to determine the authenticity of the revolution?
Okay, what I can answer you, not now, but in a detailed analysis, what can be shown, I'm not talking now about some abstract authenticity. I'm talking about that if you look at the history of what we called Soviet Union, it's clear that in spite of all horrors and so on, there was an emancipatory dimension in 1917. I read books about it. I don't buy the story that it was just Lenin's coup d'etat and so on, and like 5 top Bolsheviks. There was an emancipatory explosion going on there. And the difference even between Leninist and Stalinist terror is that precisely Leninist terror, Red Terror so-called, was much more open and honest. They didn't hide anything. They openly said, this is terror. In Stalinism it found, but what I wanted to tell you is, I'm not saying that I'm not talking about Stalin's authenticity. I'm saying basically, although don't agree with him, that what Trotsky said, Stalinism itself betrayed authenticity. Now you will say, how do I know this? I will tell you by analyzing Stalin himself, all his acts. That's my point. The proof is not that I from outside know the inner truth of revolution, and this would be my, even up to a point, I would say, psychoanalytic approach, you know. Like, from what Stalin did, it's clear that he's fighting, as it were, his own demon, how should I put it? That he himself acts as a traitor, the one who has to, as it were, erase all the traces of its own past. As to Jacobin's Robespierre, there you touch a sensitive point. I'm absolutely pro-Jacobin. I know they say Jacobin terror. Let me give you some facts which you don't find in ordinary books. They all talk about Jacobin terror. Why? Because they cut a couple of heads of the rich. Do you know that in 3 weeks, Thermidor, after Robespierre fell, more people were beheaded than the entire Jacobin terror? But they were poor, anonymous people, nobody cares about that, and so on. Second thing, listen, Robespierre terrorist. Do you remember how Robespierre and Jacobins lost power? With the vote in the National Assembly. I'm sorry, this is not the way you overthrow a totalitarian leader. Third thing, one thing you should say about Robespierre. This is their heroism. I mentioned it in Hyderabad already, I think. For me, even more important than French Revolution was Haiti Revolution. The first black slave rebellion, which was not done in this archaic way, we just want to return to our tribes. No, they said, if French said equality, fraternity, we want it, and so on. And all the glory goes here to Jacobins. When the black delegation from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, visited Paris in '92, I think, they were celebrated as one of us, and so on. When Napoleon took over, he immediately sent the army, and so on. So, you know, how should I put it? The first good thing about, now if some of you like art, and so that you will see that I'm not just primitive Marxist, that I also do high art analysis. For me, but this is typical intellectual elitism. For me, the highest proof that Jacobinism was not some kind of a proto-Stalinist terror is painting. I hope some of you know the painting, which is the definitive painting of French Revolution, Jean-Louis David, The Death of Marat. You know Marat, Radical Revolution? Okay. Do you remember how that painting looks? This is, let's say, the entire picture. In the lower third, you see Marat in a bathtub, dead, and then what do you have here? Nothing. Void, darkness. It's as if the void that haunts the revolution was there. A totalitarian would never allow that darkness. 2/3 of the painting is darkness. You know how would that painting look in a Stalinist version, where you would have the dying Marat, and then up you would have some kid's version of what he was thinking when he was dying. Happy French people singing in freedom. You know what I mean? The fact that they allowed this void darkness to be seen meant for me, simple fact, they were not totally, and this was not this was not a marginal painting. This painting was displayed in Paris. It was a pop. I admire a revolution which is able to produce a painting which functions at its defining and emblematic painting, such a weird, uncanny, anxiety-provoking painting. You don't find this there. So again, to return back to you, if anything, Stalinism was pure horror and so on. And I'm also not, read my book on Lenin if you don't believe me, I'm not playing this boring Trotskyist game of, oh, if only Lenin lived 2 years more, he would have made a pact with Trotsky and Soviet Union would have been a thriving, rich country.
So
No.
I wanted to bring to that particular
No,
point.
I think it was
particular
it
point
was
of Lenin.
a tragic fate from the beginning.
So